Farm, and I'm trying a new format today because I really wanted to take you guys on a live walk through the secret garden. So I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes just to jump on here. We have about 15 seconds. Can you guys hear me? Can you let me know in comments on the side if the audio is okay? Because like I said, I'm outside this time and I'm using my phone, so I want to see if you guys can hear me. So either give like a little thumbs up or something. That would be helpful. So all right, I'm going to give everybody just a few more minutes. I'm going to give you just like a little sweeping, broad look. Oh, hey, Krishna. Hello from, where are you from? You know, I have to say I'm watching this from my phone, so it's a different setup. Hey, Creatively Candace, I'm giving you a shout out later because I appreciate your cup of coffee last week. So thanks for joining. The audio is good. Thank you, friends. I appreciate that. Okay, so listen, if like the audio cuts out, I guess let me know, or if like the quality is kind of crummy, let me know, because then I'll know that I'm too far from my Wi-Fi. Hey, Christine. Oh, hey, from Long Valley, New Jersey. All right, close neighbor here. Nice to see you. Well, this is what the secret garden looks like. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Kelly Lehman. I'm the owner of Cranberry Hills Flower Farm here in Cranberry, New Jersey. And I love giving you guys fun, free flower tips. So please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the notifications so you know whenever I post more garden tip videos. So, hey, Lori from Paramus. Oh, another New Jersey person. Nice to see you. Howdy. Hey, Frank Cox, how are you? So this is what the secret garden looks like in April. We're Hardiness Planting Zone 6. Hey, Loma. Oh, from Idaho. Nice to see you from Idaho. And I wanted to show you some of the things that are going on here. Hi, Diana. I love when you check in. Diana Pearson, you're very loyal. Carol, nice to see you. So here's the first thing I'd like to show you. I am really huge into flowering trees. So one of my neighbors up the road asked me why I didn't have any flowering trees a while ago. Her name is Ellen. And ever since that day, my entire property is filled with them now. If you're looking for some terrific landscaping ideas that involve flowering trees, I would recommend white crab apples. That's what you see in front of you right now. But there's also a version of this called a red crab apple, which is striking. So if you just want to like Google later on red crab apple trees, they will blow your mind. So the only thing to keep in mind with this variety, though, is that they get really large. Like you could tell this, I'm going to give you like a little pull away shot here. This tree is tremendous. It's probably about 10 years old. It's planted in full sun, and it's literally like my place of zen. So my husband Sheldon and I yesterday, we were going to go to the beach, and instead, like after lunch, we just grabbed 2 pillows and we laid underneath this tree for like a half an hour. And it smells beautiful and it's unbelievable. Oh, that's funny, Creatively Candace. You're researching flowering trees? Oh, good. Well, hopefully I can give you some good tips. So yeah, so the white crab apples are phenomenal, and the pollinators love them. There's always a ton of honeybees on them, and it smells unbelievable. So that's my crab apple tree. I want to show you what and tell me if I'm walking too fast, because I also don't want to give you guys vertigo, but I'm really bad at using the stabilizers. I don't know, I'm just not that tech savvy, so I'm trying to figure out the options. Hey, Bluebird. Oh, from Brick. Oh, nice to see you. Hey, John, how are you? Okay, so here's my limelight hydrangea, and some of you have seen this tree, or the shrub I should say, in some of my past videos, and it gets tremendous, and it's usually packed with gorgeous, beautiful blooms. So this year I pruned it back about 3 weeks ago, and I took about 1/3 of the plant off, only because it wasn't really performing well. I wasn't getting as many blooms as I used to. So you don't have to prune back your limelight hydrangeas if they're doing well. I actually suggest that you don't, because sometimes the flower heads get super, super giant as you prune them. Because when you prune your hydrangeas, you're giving them like a recharge. And then the flowers are going to be super giant and gorgeous, but sometimes they get too heavy. And guys, I want to show you my Nico Hydrangeas, because I also want to let you know that sometimes you can cut off your hydrangea blooms if you prune them back in the wrong season. So this is my Nico Hydrangea Row right now, and I never prune these gals back. I might just give them a deadhead, because what happens is all the blooms that I'm going to get this summer were put in place last fall. So if I were to have come in here and shaved all these guys back, I would have cut off all of these beautiful blooms. And it's the same thing with the first batch of blooms you get from Endless Summer. They also come in on this old growth that was set in place last year. But the nice thing about the endless summer is then they have another burst of new growth that will give you some blooms. But if you're not sure about what kind of hydrangea that you have and all your neighbors are pruning and they're out there and you're like, oh, I should go out there and prune, do yourself a favor and hold back on the pruning until you know what variety you have and until you know the best pruning techniques for that hydrangea. And I have a whole playlist of hydrangea care videos that I'll link to the end of this. But at the end of the day, if you don't prune back your hydrangea, you're probably going to get the blooms anyway. So, I would hold off on the pruning if you're not sure what you're doing just yet. But as far as my Nicos go, I hardly ever prune them back. I'll just come in here and, like I said, a deadhead. I'm just going to kind of clip off these spent blooms here. And deadheading is very different than pruning. So deadheading is just giving like that flower like a little snip off. And that's going to help me get extra blooms also. I do have to say that about 3 years ago, I did notice that I wasn't getting any blooms for like 2 years in a row. And what I did was I did give it a recharge. So I cut this plant back probably to about 2 or 3 feet. And then I didn't get any blooms that season, but then the following season, they kind of recharged and they were terrific. But for the most part, I don't touch them. So let's see. Toronto, hey, Ann, how are you? What I like about this phone is I can see you guys better because my old eyes are closer to the screen right now. Lorna, do you have any experience with Teller's blue hydrangea? I'm sorry, I don't. Guys, but please jump over to my Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group page, because you guys can post questions like Lorna just asked me, because sometimes I don't know the answers, but there's so many experienced gardeners that are part of our flower tribe that I invite you all to go over there. There's a link in descriptions below. Post your questions, and you can post pictures of your garden challenges, and then gardeners from all over the world have been answering so many questions, and I really appreciate your help with that. I can't always get to all the questions, and sometimes I just don't know the answer, and you guys do. So in back of me here is I have some lilacs that didn't come in yet. They will soon. I think they're called Miss Kim. There's a whole bunch of different varieties of lilacs. This guy here is coming in, but I don't know. I have to give this gal a shot of fertilizer. I'm not sure why she's not doing well, but she needs more green leaves. But it's amazing that she bloomed, and yet she's not looking. It looks like it's a different variety, though. So that might be common lilac, and then I think these Miss Kims come in later. Back here is one of my absolute favorite flowering trees. It's a Kwanzaan Cherry. And once again, I'm going to walk kind of slow. I don't want to give you guys vertigo as you're having your coffee. I hope you guys have a cup of coffee in hand or a cup of tea, because I want this to be like a really relaxing, enjoyable part of your mornings on Thursdays. I'm trying to go live every Thursday morning at 10:30 for spring. But this is what these beautiful blossoms look like. They look like carnations. And a lot of times I'll just take clippings of these guys and I'll put them in water glasses all around the house. Let's see what else I want to show you. This is a dogwood tree, one of my mom's favorite trees. We always had a dogwood in our garden. Hey, Andrea from Alabama. Thank you for joining us. I want to show you these beautiful blooms too. Oh, and Lorna just planted her Kwanzaan Cherry. Oh, that's so cool. I bet it's beautiful now. But this is what the dogwood tree looks like. And dogwoods come in all different colors. They come in white and pink, and they're really beautiful. Low maintenance. I have to say, all these trees that I'm showing you are pretty low maintenance. And back here is a redbud tree. It's purple, but it's called a redbud. I'm going to try to do a zoom. I hope this doesn't blow your minds with the zoom up. Can you guys see that? Is it fuzzy when I do that with I hate to say it, you guys are going to have to help me out with this. It's the first time I'm doing a live garden tour with this camera. Is it kind of fuzzy when I do that close-up? Is it not worth it, or can you still see it? Let me pull it back now. I'm assuming maybe that's clearer. I want to head over here because I want to show you some of my peonies. Oh, the picture was good. Thank you. You guys are like my camera crew. Okay. This is a, yes. All right. Carol asked me if someone's missing this video, can they see it later, or in case you guys have to duck out? No worries. I always post these live videos immediately after, we go off. So they're there forever. They're there for the duration. You can show your grandkids like 20 years. I know, I love the red bud. All right, so this is a Crepe Myrtle right now, and it's not in bloom, but it will be soon. And guys, I'm also gonna post a garden tour where, as I'm like going through this and I'm talking about what the blooms look like, I actually like have the pictures of the plants that, you know, what they look like in bloom. So you can catch that later on this weekend. So I'm gonna have 2 different garden tour videos, this live one, and then one where I kind of, you know, interject the pictures of what they look like when they're in full bloom. This is my butterfly bush, which is a spectacular burst of purple color in about, I don't know, I guess about a month. And if you have kids or grandkids or neighborhood kids or, you know, kids that you like, as long as they're like, you know, family or friends, you can have like a pollinator garden. And that's super cool because you can show them all sorts of like nature and butterflies and bees. They come to these, you know, plants that love to be pollinated. So butterfly bushes attract a ton of butterflies. They're spectacular. And we pruned this gal back when it was still dormant, and it's going to come in tremendous. And this can get up to like, I think this gal's been about 4 or 5 feet tall, and it gets just as wide. And more pollinator plants that you might want to use are sunflowers are terrific, zinnias are wonderful, daisies, those are all the plants that attract like the butterflies and the honeybees. And the honeybees are super gentle. These are some of the daffodils. Let me get a close up here. And I love planting different varieties of daffodils because they have different bloom times. So right now, this is my last batch of daffodils that will come up. But before these, I had a ton of like the double daffies, and I had white daffies, and they all came up at different times because I like to have a constant burst of color in my garden. So when these gals in the front that you see are kind of all pooped out, when they were in bloom, the gals in the back were just green leaves. And I've got all these flowering trees offering a ton of color in my garden right now, but once they go out of bloom and they just have like the beautiful green leaves, that's when the hydrangeas that you see right here, they're just sticks right now, they're gonna be beautiful blues. And then over here, I've got a peony. I've got a ton of peonies in here. And then that's gonna be beautiful pink. So as these guys fade, the other flowers take over. So as you're doing your garden planning, you might want to think about like the different times of year that your plants are going to be blooming, so you have that continual gorgeous garden. It's not just like a burst of color for 2 weeks and then it's just green. So consider that, and I'll show you what I mean by that over here more. Do you guys see Lucy out in that back pasture here? There's Lucy out there. But I want to show you more. I'm going to walk slow. Once again, I don't want to give you guys agita. Hold on. Eek. Can you guys see the weeping cherries in the back? Oh, super question, Sue Flowers. What depth do you plant peonies? Oh, I love you for asking that. Sue, do me a favor. If you want some of my free sunflowers, go to Kelly Lehman. Go to Kelly Lehman at cranberryfields.com. And it's spelled like my town, Cranbury. So Kelly Lehman at cranberryfields.com. And if you want free sunflowers seeds, send me your address, because I pick random people who ask like great questions or answer great questions to give sunflower seeds to. So thank you for that. So anyway, the answer to your question, that would be nice if I answered it. The major reason why people do not get their peony blooms is because they plant them too deep. So these are some peonies coming up now. And I want to show you what I mean by that. So these gals are planted no more, they don't have any more than 2 inches of soil above like these eyes that came up. So these little sprouts are going to be the stems. They're going to wind up having the flowers on them. But if you put more than 2 inches of soil over that top eye, then chances are you're going to have beautiful green leaves, but you're not going to have the peony blooms. And another reason why people don't get their peony blooms is because they plant it correctly. They don't have more than 2 inches of soil on top, but then they take the mulch and they load the mulch on top over the crown, and that's the same thing as burying it too deep. So make sure that you don't have mulch on the crown, that you have it pulled back. And mulch is helpful because it keeps the plant, you know, nice and it keeps it hydrated. But you want to make sure that the mulch isn't laid up too tall. And guys, it's really important too that you don't take the mulch and layer it on top of any of your plants like that. Like here's a hydrangea here, and I'm actually going to come in here. I'm going to pull some of it back because it shouldn't really be up against the base. You always want to pull that mulch back just a bit because plants need a lot of aeration among their stems. Otherwise, they get fungus issues. So I'm going to pull it back. But listen, sometimes you have some help in the garden. I know we had some help back here, people laying the mulch. And like, you know, they're not going to take the time to do the babying that I'm doing right now. So make sure that you come out to your gardens as you're getting the mulch, and you always pull that back away from your hydrangeas, from your peonies, from all your plants. And then we just put this peony plant in yesterday. I planted this yesterday. We made a video that we're going to post soon. And basically the steps to planting a peony is you find a sunny spot that's free from like a lot of wind. And you're going to make sure that you like soak the peony a little bit before so it's nice and hydrated. And then you're going to dig a hole and make sure that you don't plant it too deep. We added a little bit of organic compost to the bottom of the soil. And then we watered her in, and I'm going to make sure that she doesn't dry out. But also make sure that you don't overwater your peonies because you can rot out that tuber. So be careful. The water is very, very important. And here's what I wanted to show you over here. So this goes along the idea of not having just like a single burst of color. So these are my Annabelle Hydrangeas in the front. I have a huge row of them. But in back of them, I planted some peonies. So these peonies are about to burst open. Oh, sure thing, Sue. Happy to help, and I'm happy that you're giving us, that you gave me that question because it helps other people learn. So these are the peonies, and they're going to wind up bursting open probably in about 2 or 3 weeks. And while they're bursting open, these Annabelle Hydrangeas are just going to, you know, have that pretty green. But you're going to have this beautiful burst of pink in the background. And then once the beautiful pink is kind of, they've had it, you know, the stems are spent, I'm going to have this beautiful burst of white from the Annabelle Hydrangeas. And just a quick second peony tip. When your peonies are spent, make sure that you do not cut back all this beautiful lush green foliage because they need that for photosynthesis so they can feed like the tuber and they can overwinter and come back beautiful the next year. So sometimes people will come in the beginning of spring and their peonies are done and they'll hack them down to the ground because they don't look so good, but you just starved your plant for the season. So you can come in, you can kind of just, you know, cut out the bloom that, you know, doesn't look so great anymore, cut out like maybe there, but leave the rest of the leaves intact, and then you can kind of cut them back in fall. And then the story with these Annabelle Hydrangeas, these first 3 or 4 were eaten by deer. So I gave them, they were already cut way back. So I just cut them back about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I left about 18 inches or 2 feet intact so that my stems don't flop over too much. But I usually don't prune back my Annabelles at all. They usually look like this. Now, when I don't prune back my Annabelle Hydrangea, I get smaller flower heads, but still a ton of them, and they're gorgeous. But now I have an even better support system because Annabelle Hydrangea, like Limelight, come in on this year's growth, but the stems are usually pretty green and floppy, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So here's like this brand new stem, and it's green, it's flexible, but when it gets a flower head on it, it's going to be a little droopy. But it's got this whole support system in here, almost like a little cage to hold it up. So if you have Annabelle Hydrangea or Incredible Hydrangea, especially in your landscaping, and you want to make sure that it's not flopping over all year, you might consider just not pruning the plant back and getting those beautiful smaller flower heads with that strong support system. Okay, so here's this row here. Let's see. Oh, there's Lucy walking through. Lucy's like a big boat. Like you just kind of see her floating through the garden. Can you see her back there underneath like that flower pot? Oh, she just ducked. Let me take a walk over there. Let me sweep around this way. Am I going slow enough with the walking, guys? Is anybody getting nervous? Oh, Creatively Candace. Yes, you're the best. So yes. Peonies take a long time to bloom once you put them in. So Candace said that she put some bare root peonies in and she didn't get, you're not going to get blooms probably until like year 2 or 3. That's a super important point. Creatively Candace, also send me your address if you want free sunflower seeds, because that's a super important point to bring up. So Kelly Lehman at cranberryfields.com. Yes, so sometimes people plant peonies and then they call the company and they say, oh, it's been 2 years and your peonies are the worst. And sometimes it does take 2 or 3 years. And the same thing with hydrangeas. So some of you have written, I think it might have been Agnes, she wrote on our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group that the rule of thumb is it's creep, sleep, and leap. So the first year you put the plants in, they sleep. The next year they start to like have that really great established root system. And then maybe like the third year, you'll start seeing them blooming in leaps and bounds. So that's the story with some of those new hydrangeas and the new peonies. So terrific tip. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll say good morning to Lucy. Hello, lady. Eating grass again. These are some dahlias. And I love dahlias. I'm getting some sent to me from DutchBulbs.com. They're a terrific garden company that I work with sometimes. This is not a paid endorsement. I just happen to love the company. Actually, a lot of those daffodils you saw before were from that company also. And here is some lilacs. Oh, and I found a 4-leaf clover this morning right before I went live with you guys. How amazing is that? Oops, now it's all floppy. Is that beautiful? And I'd like to thank Creatively Candace. She sponsored today's caffeine cup. And if you'd ever like to buy me a cup of coffee, there is a link below in descriptions. And I appreciate you very much, Candace. Thank you for supporting this YouTube channel and for providing today's caffeine cup. That's awesome. Love that. Here's my white lilac, and it just smells absolutely amazing. And a little trick with your lilacs is that you can kind of like crush the wooded stems, because it's hard for the water to come up through the stems when it has like a wooded branch. But if you kind of crush it with like a little hammer, then sometimes the water flow is a little bit better. Hey, Kentucky. And then, oh, I want to show you these guys. These are the best. So here's another purple lilac that's just coming in. I think this one's called a purple lilac. And this gal has self-propagated like to the moon and back. Look at all these little, like, they're like children. So these are like the little propagated plants that came off of this hydrangea, all of them. And it surrounds the tree, and I had nothing to do with it. It was simply God, nature, this plant doing its thing. And it started off, it was probably half the size when I planted it, and now it's tremendous. And each of those stems was a self-propagation. So lilacs are wonderful with that. And I have to say the Annabelle Hydrangea, most hydrangeas are too, especially Annabelles. I should have showed you that back there. These gals on the bottom are called Hellebores. If you're looking for a spectacular spring flower, this is your gal. They like to be planted in partial shade, which is why I have it underneath my lilac tree. And you have to check this out. This is all new growth on the top because this plant gets bigger every single year. And this is what the flowers look like. I think some people call it a Lenten Rose because it literally comes up in March before the daffodils. Is that spectacular? I don't know why I don't see these everywhere. And I'm going to show you some of the other. They come in like double blossoms. And this gal's been blooming literally since March. So I want to make this like a new fad to plant hellebores in your gardens because this plant brings me so much joy. And here's like another single flower that's green. Oh, great question. How do you spell hellebores? It's Hellebores. Hellebores. I was afraid I'm pronouncing it the wrong way. Okay, so anyway, that's that. And they're just unbelievable. And you know what, guys? This is a great, great tip. Your hunters and check out all the hellebores they have that are on sale right now because they probably look really crappy, especially the ones that are in pots. Get them for like half price or like, 20% off discount or whatever the discount is, and then plant them in your garden because it's okay to plant them now. It's a terrific time to plant them now. So put them in your garden, especially because the gardens, they want to get, so snatch up like some of those plants like the hellebores. And a lot of times I'll even go to my local garden centers and I'll grab some of their tulips and daffodils that just look, they just want to get rid of them. They don't have the capacity to store all their plants that they didn't sell each year. So they'll sell them as like giveaway prices, but now is a great time to put them in the ground. And then, they're going to come back next year. So run out there, get your hellebores and daffodils. And then I want to show you this weeping cherry tree back here. And this is what I mean about having these flowering trees in your garden as like a backdrop. I mean, I used to have this secret garden back here. I didn't have the flowering trees, and it was just kind of like stickly, like the whole garden kind of looked more like this. It just had, you know, it was waiting for the butterfly bush that's to your right to bloom. It was waiting for the limelight hydrangea to bloom. And then all of a sudden I put in these white lilacs, this weeping cherry tree, this purple redbud, and it's just like this bang, like beautiful dramatic look. Hey Garden Journey, thanks for checking in from New Jersey. Another spectacular plant that I absolutely love is Snowball Viburnum. I planted these gals about 6 years ago and I got nothing. It was like just sticks and some green leaves, and I was so disappointed. And then last year, these gals just burst open with tons and tons and tons of like baseball-sized blooms. They look like hydrangeas, but they'll bloom now. And they have a great vase life. So I have them all over the place now. So if you're looking for a great viburnum, it's called Snowball Viburnum. And when I do a garden tour in May, you're going to see how giant they are, and they're spectacular. But they did take a long time. So once again, sometimes you just need to have that patience in the garden. And so that's what these weeping cherries look like back here. Here's Lucy rolling around. And I'm sure she's rolling around on something she shouldn't be, because whenever I see her roll like that, she usually comes in the house smelling awesome. So, awesomely yuck. Here, tell me if you guys can still see me. This is the first time I'm going way back here. I think I'm way off the grid Wi-Fi, but I think I have my hotspot locked and loaded the right way. So if you guys can still see clear, that would be great if you can just give me a thumbs up or let me know. We just transplanted all of these Ilex mountain hollies because they were not doing well in the front of my house. You could tell they're very leggy. Uh-oh, did I lose you guys? Let me back up a bit. Oh, wait, hold on, Andrew. Do you cut back your crepe myrtles? Oh, you live in Alabama and they're everywhere. I don't usually cut them back, but you can when they're still dormant because they get huge. And they're just packed with color. So a super, oh, I'm good, thank you guys. A super flowering tree in your gardens is crepe myrtle. I'm sorry, these are all crepe myrtles back here. I have them all over my house. I'm still there, oh great. So if you're looking for a flowering tree, crepe myrtles are unbelievably easy to grow, and they get really big, and find purples and pinks and reds. And so crepe myrtle is spelled C-R-E-P-E, Myrtle. I think it's M-Y-R-T-L-E. And later on, I'm going to clean up the descriptions of this video. And I'll try to put some of these names in there too. Spectacular, crepe myrtle. Okay, so here's the weeping cherry. This gal was much brighter. It was like this beautiful, bright pink about 2 weeks ago. And now it's starting to fade. It's still beautiful. And it's going to have beautiful green leaves very soon. And I want to show you how we transplanted a whole bunch of these azalea bushes. These azalea bushes had not bloomed for me in 5 years. I had them in the front of my house around like a rock wall. And we transplanted them because azaleas like partial shade. And we gave them like a shot of fertilizer. And they're doing beautifully. And I'm actually surprised they're blooming because we did just transplant them. And a lot of times, you know, plants take a year or two before they start to bloom again. So let's see. This is what they're looking like. And then I want to show you a garden blunder. So this is a weeping willow. And when we first put this tree in the ground, we had it with some ropes around it. So it was kind of drooping over. It was very windy back here. We put some ropes around it. And we forgot to take the ropes off. And all of a sudden the tree was doing really poorly. And I had Save a Tree come out here and let me know why my tree was dying. And they said, because you're strangling your tree, you never cut the ropes off. And I'll show you what happened. See these indentations? This rope was around it. And as the tree got bigger, it started strangling out the entire system. So I had ropes all over it. And so we had to cut them off. And now the tree's doing much better. So if you ever do like stake your trees, your young trees, keep in mind to, you know, take all that rope off because it will strangle the trees eventually. And then this is a very cool tree. This is a weeping cherry that was grafted onto an ornamental pear. So this tree was all white going up, had all white blooms on it about 2 weeks ago with the pink branches coming off the side. So it was like a 2-for-1 deal. And here's my little back garden where we transplanted a ton of spirea and we transplanted a ton of limelight hydrangea because they weren't doing well. And so like in springs, those of you that follow the channel, you know that I like to, spring and fall, I move my plants around like I move furniture sometimes. So if they're not doing well after a couple years, then I'll switch them out until they're happier. And then there's the flower farm in back of this big giant tree. Everybody's coming up there, but that's kind of far. So let me see what else I have here. Let me walk you guys back. And I just wanted to give a shout out to 2 more people. I'm sending some of them sunflower seeds in the mail. I'm sending them out today. I wanted to send them out sooner, but I didn't get a chance to, but they're going out today. So Elsa R. from Oregon, you gave a live YouTube tip for us last week. I think you gave us one of the tips. I think it was about the banana, to use like the banana peels, the banana peel tea. So thank you for that. I'm sending your sunflower seeds out today. I appreciate your help with our flower family. And Eugene A. from Texas, I'm sending out your sunflower seeds today too. You asked a flower question on Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group. So I totally appreciate that. I love our flower family coming together on that Facebook group. And I can't always get to all the questions that I get here and on Instagram and all over the place, but you guys have been helping to answering each other's questions, so that's awesome. So I'm gonna hit the road right now, guys. I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you every Thursday at 10:30 for more tips. And thanks again for showing up. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great day, Flower Tribe. I see you.